Hi and good evening, all YouTubers. Back again. This is Sunday, and so I think it's appropriate to reflect on some things. I know for me, this is going to be a spiritual journey as well as a psychological journey on getting myself back on track in not only losing the weight, but most especially in keeping it off. Um, Today I was very grateful to be able to go back and see a lot of my church community and sing in the choir. I will say it wore me out and I had to sleep all afternoon to recover from it, but it was great seeing everyone and drinking from that fountain of, community. That is so wonderful. I will also say that something has really been helping me has been the Chopra 21-day meditation challenge that he's doing, Deepak Chopra is doing in conjunction with Oprah. And I've mentioned that before. You can find more information about that on chopracenter.com. And then the third thing that I wanted to touch on today was a book that I'm reading. I've taken actually several books out from the library to help me with my intellectual challenge of retraining my brain. And on that point, this book I'm finding to be excellent. It's The Beck Diet Solution. The subtitle is what I think is most important. I suspect the title probably came from whoever wanted to sell this book a lot more. But the subtitle is Train Your Brain to Think Like a Thin Person. No kidding. I could use a little of that. I happen to live with a thin person. My husband is very thin. And I do see, and I have noticed, that our thinking is very different with relation to food. And Dr. Beck touches on this. Now, a little bit about the author of this book, and that is Dr. Judith Beck. Her father was Aaron Beck, and if you have ever tried cognitive therapy, you can thank her father, Aaron Beck, for having founded that whole school of thought. I will say for me, and I've been in and out of therapy for years for depression, cognitive therapy is the one therapy that has consistently worked for me. So I'm thrilled to be reading a book using cognitive therapy techniques to retrain my brain. I've just started it. I already love it. And I can't wait to get into it further. But basically, if you're not familiar with cognitive therapy, the way it has worked for me is it takes all those thoughts that are in your head, all that self-talk, especially all the negative self-talk that leads to depression or overeating or whatever your issue is, and it breaks it down and you challenge each one of those thoughts, because a lot of those thoughts just simply aren't rational. Others may be a little more rational, but they can be counteracted with something that is much more useful and positive and going to take you back to where you need to be going in life. So I'm really looking forward to working with this book, and I'll touch on it as I work my way through it. The very first exercise in the book is to make a list of why, let me get this exactly, but why you want to lose weight, I believe is what it is. And the point of making the list is that, sorry, I'm going to talk and look for this at the same time. The point of making the list, I believe, but again, I'm new to the book, is to be able to take that list out in the future when you're having your days where it's tough and you need to challenge why it is, or you need to challenge yourself before you take a bite you don't need, or you overeat, or you indulge in a food that is probably a no good thing for you. The idea is to take this list out and reread your list of why, and by the way, it is reasons I want to lose weight. That's the list that you want to do. Now, she has some suggestions from patients that she's had with their reasons, but obviously, get your own reasons in there. For me, I can say, I'm going to take some time to think about this, but I can say right off the bat, for me, it is not so much about the clothing and the physical stuff as it is, I want to be back in control. I'm a control freak. I hate being out of control of anything. This is one area of my life that I have been out of control. And I'll be exploring that with myself of why I've let it go in that area. But I look forward to being back in control. I look forward to feeling better. I look forward to being active again, because I remember how good I felt when I was active. I look forward to having more, well, I don't lack in confidence, I have to say. Um, and there are times when I can come across as definitely arrogant, but you know what? Underneath all of that is this sense of not being good enough. And that goes back to childhood. So I'll be working a little bit on that. But the lack of self-respect and the thought that others don't respect me either. I look at regaining a lot of that. Both, mainly this is going to come from me and having to deal with myself, because you can't help what other people are going to think and do. You can only help your reaction to it. But I do know it's just a matter of common sense, and a lot of studies back this up. People respond better to someone who is thin. That's all there is to it. I mean, it happens. So, I am looking forward to maybe getting a little more of that from others, but that's a little counter to what I really need to work on, which is getting it from myself and being able to be satisfied with myself, because again, ultimately I can only control what I do and what I think, and not about what others do and think. So there's going to be a lot of work in that direction. Now, back to the Chopra 21-day challenge. I wanted to share something from day 3 of this challenge. And by the way, you can sign up at any time, and you can also, and it's free. Although days 1, 2, and 3 is almost ready to expire. They do expire after 5 days, but you can pick it up now and still pick it up. You can also purchase the series, and again, I don't have anything to do with this. I just know that I find it helpful. But I wanted to share something from day 3, which has kind of stuck with me the last few days. I'm just going to read a few snippets. I'm going to look at my other computer for a second to do that, so that's why I'm glancing this way. Okay, so and I know sometimes Deepak Chopra quotes other people, and I don't always get who the quotes are from, so apologies in advance for not having proper attribution. And I'm also paraphrasing what Dr. Chopra has to say. Okay, here we go. Because one is content with oneself, one does not need approval from others. Because one accepts oneself, the whole world accepts him or her. We expand freedom in the moment we open our hearts to others. We have the opportunity to choose how we relate to ourselves. We can choose to love, accept, and celebrate ourselves. Self-acceptance begins when we expand beyond our thoughts and embrace ourselves, knowing the glories of creation are within our very selves, that we are made of the same essence as the angels, the stars, and God himself. Begin the practice of gentle acceptance. And then something he suggests that you are able, that you say to yourself, and this was what among the things on day 3 you were to say to yourself, but this is a good one for me. I'm going to do it more than just one day. Today I choose to accept myself without self-judgment, to live each moment that I am is enough to sustain me. I choose to open my heart to myself. Today I behold myself and know that my capacity to love others is directly related to my capacity to love myself. Today I choose love. So I just, especially the part about being content with oneself. Once you're content with yourself, you don't need approval from others. So I know I have a lot more things to work on to be content with myself. From time to time, I'll share maybe some of these issues. This is self-therapy for me, and maybe it'll help someone else out there who has some of the same issues. I guess maybe I'll start with perfectionism. I know for me, growing up, the perfectionism maybe helped me in some ways, and that, I was a straight A student. I excelled at things that I really put my mind to, well, especially when it's putting my mind to it. But you know what? I would come home, say, with a perfect report card and show it to my mother, and inevitably she would say, "Oh, well, that's nice, but others have straight A's too, and then they're also the class president and the, you know, captain of the football team or whatever." And she would point out these things, and that just crushed me. Now, I love my mother dearly. She's 92 and she's full of wisdom and she's wonderful. And about 30 years ago, I finally questioned her about why she said these things, and I let her know how I'd been hurt so deeply for years, which completely surprised and shocked her because she totally did not mean it in the way that I took it, and she didn't remember saying it, and I may well have only heard my shadings of what she had to say. But what she was saying is that she knows that she tried to instill humility in her children, most especially me, her arrogant one. And probably if I came home, all proud of some accomplishment, she was trying to remind me that, I'm not all that. Of course, there are better ways to do it. One can always affirm someone and then point out, maybe the need for humility or whatever. Okay, so we all learn from experience, and I've long since forgiven my mother. But you know what? I haven't stopped being that person who needs to be, if not perfect, at least I find in myself a lot of inadequacy. And I'm working on that. I'm saying I'm working on that. I'm starting to work again on that. I haven't been working on it for the last few years. I've been kind of excusing myself, I think mainly as a survival technique, but also in a way of being happy in other respects, most especially my personal relationship, having a wonderful husband that I've had for the last 7 years and enjoying my happiness there. Maybe I was afraid to go too deep, and he seemed to love me for who I am, right at this moment. And that was wonderful, and it was a gift to have someone who loves me exactly as I am. But I look forward to being, more and more back to who I truly am, and learning those places where I don't need to be such a perfectionist, and in other places where I can feel really good about myself and say, you know what, that's pretty darn good, way to go. And be happy in that and be content in that and love that within myself. Because I do believe what Dr. Chopra was aiming at, which is if you love yourself, you have that capacity then to love more fully, to love others more fully. And I definitely want to be able to have that capacity. I think I show it a lot, but boy, I could show it a whole lot more. So anyway, these are some of my thoughts tonight on Reflection Sunday. I guess I'm going to call it that. And I want you to have a wonderful evening. Take care. Love to all.